Hey guys, Mr. Rysz here. So I'm going to help you guys out with part 2. So we're going to take our app that we can take a picture. Now we're going to try to draw on the picture. So once again, I have split screens going on here. I'm going to open up my part 1. So the first part here is just the debugging. And once again, you don't ever want to just make the code and turn it in and cross your fingers that it's good. You always want to test it out, which we should have done already. I think we did, and it worked out fine. So a lot of times here, if you get rolling, you might want to go ahead and do part 1 followed by part 2. Especially if you're in class that day. I mean, if you're at home, you might want to wait till you get here, but you know, you can do it now. So debugging is just a way to make sure that your code is working. And if you have some issues, you go through it. So next part, we're going to look through different iterations. So this is a key step here. We're going to take our project that we have and we're going to save it as another iteration. So we have part 1 here and it's good to go. We don't want to change anything to it. So the next thing we're going to do is click on My Projects. We're going to click Save Project As, and we're going to change the name to P2. This way, if I go back to My Projects, we have part 1 still saved, unchanged, and we are just working on part 2. And if we ever make any mistake, we can go back to it and just eliminate part 2 and go back to part 1 and start over. All right, so let's look at the procedures and the arguments. So what we're going to set up here, I need to zoom this out a little bit so I can see. We're going to set up a call canvas.drawLine procedure under the canvas.drag event handler. So in the canvas drawer, we're going to drag out, and this I guess is in the blocks view. So I'm going to go over here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to zoom this out a little bit. Zoom the page out there. Need to zoom that out, but all right, getting so where I can see everything. And I'm gonna move these guys over to have a little space here. Okay, so in the canvas drawer, there's canvas. We're gonna drag out the canvas drawer called the canvas.drawLine, or what, no. In the canvas drawer, drag out the call, canvas draw, and okay, so we need to drag out 2 of them. Oh, canvas.dragged, and then there is the action draw line. There we go. We got 2 of them. Looks like we're going to plop them into each other. All right. So when the canvas1.dragged event handler block is designed to automatically get the X and Y location information for you to use in your program. So both the previous location and the current location when the user draws the figure on screen. So think about when you touch a screen, like, so imagine here, I touch something and I move here. I drag it from here to here. My starting point has an X and Y. My ending point has another X and Y. And so, you know, anything with geometry or slope, we got like X1, Y1, X2, Y2. All right, so hover over the orange arguments that we have up here. And we're gonna drag some, so we're gonna get a previous X. Oh. Just get previous X and we'll drag it in there. Obviously, we probably want X1 to be our previous Y. And then what we're going to do too, so that's where we started at, and then we're going to drag out our current X, current Y. Now, oh, that's the wrong one. I'll just toss it off to the side. Current X. What? Nope. So I have a mistake here. I have X, Y, X, X. Common mistake, it needs to be X, Y, X, Y. So for the app to draw the line, the procedure needs to get the coordinates on the screen. So if we want to add more to it, we can add some pseudocode here. And all they're doing here is showing you guys can add a comment and put that there, but we don't need to do that. Alrighty. So next what we're going to do is set up the procedure while considering the previous pictures. For help with the setup, you can read the comments and the figures above, so what we just did. So we got some information here. We're going to learn about procedures, methods, and functions. So these bits of information here, I'm going to go through and I'll explain them. You guys don't know how, well, I got to try to speak today. You guys don't need to know all the little details in this class, but be aware of them. So these are going to be vocabulary words that we will use, like procedure, method, and function. Also, there will be like abstraction and algorithm. that you might see like on a quiz or see on a review or one of our conclusions to a project, but you won't have to know exactly how to make a procedure. You won't have to know how to make a function. We kind of talk about that stuff in the intro to programming class towards the end, but we're just skimming the details of what they are. Okay, so through the built-in procedures, you will see abstraction, which is the removal of smaller details to focus on the bigger details, the bigger picture stuff. The terms procedure, function, and method are often used interchangeably depending on the code language you are writing in. So a function returns a value, but a procedure does not necessarily have to. So a function is something that takes a bunch of inputs and returns one or more values. A procedure is a small component of a computer program that may contain one or several specific algorithms to accomplish a certain task. Methods are similar functions in text-based programming languages like Python. Some languages use terms such as function, method, and procedure interchangeably, while others, like block-based programming, do not differentiate between them. So what we're doing is pretty much the same thing. So we can call this a function or a method or procedure. You don't really need to know the deep difference between them. If you take the text-based class, the intro to programming, now we're getting to more details. Now we need to know the little bit less abstraction, a little bit more specific things, and you'll need to know the difference between a function and a procedure or a method. So, okay, next we're going to look at the variables here, arguments for variables. So the orange blocks here, variables, are known as arguments, which are specific to a particular event handler. And we actually have those in here as well. These are certain variables that come with the event handler. These arguments are local variables that can only be used within the event handler. So this will be a bigger thing that we'll talk on later, probably towards the end of this quarter. But like these variables here only work with this. I can't take this and drag it into another one. It might click, but we get this little error here that says there's a problem. So we're going to get rid of it. Okay. So what we're going to do now here is to test to see if this works. So our goal is to, once again, debug this and see when we draw on it, we get it to work. So I'm going to connect. Oh, now sometimes this will happen here. We had a program running before. I'm going to reset the connection, click AI Companion again, and I'm going to stop screen sharing and show you my face, my lovely face. So I'm going to scan the QR code here on my tablet, getting that up. Now our app isn't going to look any different when we start it up. So it's connecting. See, it's going to sending that information. So we still just have the button, nothing else we really see. So I'm going to take a picture of this, set the picture. So we still have this picture now, but now we're going to check when I draw on it. Okay, we get a nice little black line that shows up on our picture. So there we go. There's part 2 done for you. Pretty simple. We're just following the directions. And if you're watching this video, follow along. All right, we got part 3 next. If you need help, watch the video.